we have to start you off with the championship game rematch. The sixth time ever that the two teams that played for the title in Indy will square off again the next year. And the conclusion from the prior matchups is that there is no real conclusion. The first two were won by the team that lost the previous season, the next three by the team that won. The Ducks, of course, topped Penn State last year, a game that gives both of them a bit of a guide heading into this one.
You got to play to the standard, and we played to the standard. And in several games last year, that was not a game that we played to the standard when it came to our rushing defense. And there's things we could have done better schematically, and then there's things that technically we can be a lot better at as well. So it's certainly been a focus for us. We've seen highlights of us playing really good defense at times, run defense this season. We've seen times when we haven't. So we got to make sure that we put our guys in a great position to have success, and then do a good job against this rushing attack. You're not going to hold these guys to 0 yards rushing. They're really good, at back. So we have to be able to run the ball effectively on our side of the ball, and we have to be able to stop the run in this game.
Tendencies are a good thing. If you have tendencies, that means you're good at things. And what you want to try to do is have enough of those tendency breakers to give people pause. I think those things are really important. And then, obviously, the other thing that's going to be, I think, critical in this game is starting fast. You look at some of the games like last year where that didn't happen for them. It changes things significantly. So starting fast is going to be really important for both our offense and defense.
Two really good teams, Jerry. There's so much to talk about. What ultimately is the biggest thing that you're going to be focusing on, though?
I think the team that has the edge is going to be the team that's the most explosive, and not only on offense, but on defense. So when you talk about explosive plays on offense, we're talking about big runs, big passes, things that get the defense off balance and on their heels. And I think that's been the Oregon team if you compare the two teams. Penn State has not been all that explosive in the pass game, especially downfield. Now, they certainly are better this year than they were last year, and coming out of a bye, they may be really good at explosive pass plays. So I think the edge in explosives offensively goes to Oregon. On the other side of the ball, what are explosives on defense? Here's the explosives on defense. Sacks, turnovers, moving a pass rusher around where the offense has to shift their pass protection to them, things that keep offenses off balance. I think the edge with defensive explosions goes to Jim Knowles and the Penn State defense for two reasons. First of all, Jim Knowles is that kind of coach. He likes to give you different looks. He likes to create explosions on defense. But the other thing, Robert, that really plays in the favor of defensive explosions by Penn State is they've had 2 weeks to prepare. So Jim Knowles, who's generally creative in a normal week of preparation, has 2 weeks to perhaps put things in that he can work into the package, that he feels confident calling. So new things can create explosions on defense. So I think explosions will be the biggest difference in the game. Edge to Oregon on offense, Penn State on defense.
Penn State 29 tackles for loss. It's the third most in the Big Ten. And as you mentioned, it's a team that has only played in 3 games so far. I do think it's fair to point out, Jerry, the 3 opponents they played have been less than stellar. I mean, I was amazed by this. I don't even know how to interpret it, frankly, but the Sagarin ratings, which I think we're all familiar with, one of the old school computer rankings, has Penn State's schedule ranked 228th in the nation, which boggles the mind, right? We're only talking about 130-something FBS teams. So you're saying there are 90 FCS teams, at least according to this ranking, that have played a more difficult schedule than Penn State. I'm not going to argue the validity of that. I mean, that seems extreme to me, but it points out that they haven't seen anything even remotely resembling Oregon. Oregon has played a conference game, as we know. They've played a little bit higher level of competition. To what degree do you think that's a factor, if at all?
I think it's a factor. I think in these games, everything's a factor, right? I mean, when you can figure that Saturday thing, get back to me, because I can't for the life of me figure it out. The other thing is, an off week is not always good. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I mean, I think one of the most difficult things a coach does during the season, a head coach, is figure out what to do on the off week. Do you go faster? Do you go slower? What days you give the team off? We were in a routine. We were winning the games. We had it down, and now we're out of a routine. On the other hand, it gives an offense and a defense like Penn State a chance to put more in. Sometimes more isn't better. So I think the bye week will be interesting how Penn State comes out of it. I haven't researched how Penn State does after bye weeks. Usually, head coaches have good reputations or bad reputations coming off bye weeks.
I was listening to James Franklin in his news conference this week, and he was talking about self-scouting, and he was saying, they have the defense self-scout the offense self-scout the defense during the bye week, which is interesting. I'm sure they're not the only ones who'll handle it that way. But I would think, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would think that given some of the issues that Penn State has faced, they haven't been great on third down, they haven't been great at converting red zone possessions into touchdowns, it feels like maybe a little bit of time to assess could be a very good thing.
Yeah, I think when you self-scout, the issue with self-scouting, it's a positive experience if you've played better teams. In fact, some teams, if their schedule is so weak, you would only self-scout yourself maybe against the toughest opponents. Now, if Oregon was self-scouting, they have more to go on because of the competition. So it's really a little bit of a tricky thing when you're coming off that bye week.
I want to ask you one more question on this game, and then we'll move on. How much pressure do you think is on Penn State to win this game? And what, if there is pressure on them, kind of given the narrative around winning these big games and beating, oddly, Oregon isn't a top 5 opponent anymore. They were earlier in the year. They're not now. They've ranked just outside the top 5. They're number 6 in the AP, but for all intents and purposes, a top 5 opponent. How much pressure do you think there is on Penn State to win this game?
Well, there's a lot of pressure, but let me give you the good news, okay? When Ryan Day lost to Ohio State, when Ryan Day lost to Michigan last year,
yep,
how much pressure was on him? He ended with a national championship team. So regardless of the pressure, if Penn State loses, we'll hear all the stats about them against the best teams they play and all the streaks and all that. And at the end of the day, if Penn State loses to Oregon in a couple days and wins the national championship, it'll be the same result as Ryan Day had when he lost to Michigan and won the national championship. I guess my point is, regardless of the pressure, it's going to be temporary.
I agree with you 100%. And that's why this new 12-team playoff is so different. And Ohio State, I think, gave us that example right away in year one. But sure, Penn State, you still got Ohio State, you still got Indiana. Were you to lose to Oregon and beat both of those teams, or even, frankly, one of those teams, were you to run the table the rest of the way, you'd probably make the playoff, and then you could change the narrative in the postseason. But a huge game, no doubt. One they've had circled, one we've had circled, and can't wait to see how it plays out.